Get milk and lettuce. There's where that list is. Okay, if only my cell phone was here.
What is that clicking? Oh.
Welcome back. This is Stacey Eldredge, and I'd like to welcome you to the Ransomed Heart podcast. John is with me in the studio today, as is Craig. Go ahead.
Oh, you're on a roll, sweetheart.
We're talking about Love and War, which comes out tomorrow. Woohoo!
Wow.
I know, who knew? These things
Finally.
actually happen, you know?
Finally.
You look forward to something for so long, and then it's coming. So it's been so fun for me to get to gather with you guys. You do this much more often. And to be talking through just some of the themes and topics of the book. And today we're going to be talking about adventure, sharing adventures together, dreaming together. I love that. So let's talk about that. You go ahead. I'll listen.
Was
in.
that the toss?
Yeah, that was it. That'd be the toss.
So, you all, go on now. Do your thing.
Get along with you.
Okay, here we go. When God creates the earth, he creates it rigged for adventure. I mean, it's really absolutely stunning. You can learn so much about the personality of God just by looking at the world he made. You know, the oceans, the rivers, the deserts, gardens and mountains and horses and all of it. It's just magnificent. And then he gives it to Adam and Eve almost like a wedding present, right? Here on their honeymoon, here on their wedding day, right? God gives Adam and Eve the earth. And he says, this is my present to you. And in the idea of rule it, subdue it, you know, be fruitful in it. The idea is go for it. I give you the earth and all of its adventures. I mean, just the discoveries that lay ahead. Nobody's written a song yet, right? No one's discovered music. You know, nobody's canoed a river yet or sailed an ocean. All that remains to be explored. And then he gives it to them together. And then God said to them, rule and subdue, you know. And so the idea is every marriage needs adventure to it. It needs something that we're doing together, enjoying together, conquering together, discovering together. And those have been the best moments of our marriage, right?
Yeah.
Where were you?
I was just thinking. I was thinking about how he gave it to Adam and Eve.
Okay, no agreements. No agreements. I'm not making any agreements. Go ahead, honey.
Absolutely, yes. I was rafting the Snake River. I was thinking about, I haven't sailed the ocean yet. I wonder if that made Craig's heart beat faster when John said that. And, I want to do that. And I thought about how for Adam and Eve, he gave it to them and it was brand new. And yet for all of us, we're born into this world and we're given it. You know, it's brand new to us. We've never done it. We've never tasted ice cream or walked barefoot. We get to discover the world too. I love that. I love that he's given it to us to explore. And he's given it more as a mission as well, that we have that shared mission as a couple, that it's more than creating a sanctuary of the home, which is beautiful and wonderful and wanted, raising children, an incredible honor, task, burden.
Okay, pause. In all the other things, we've combined adventure and mission, but in the book and in the podcast, they're separate. So you're starting to get into chapter 8 or 9. This is companionship, adventure, boredom, routine. That's what this is about.
Oh.
Shared mission, calling, purpose has its own chapter.
Fabulous.
It's a great book.
Let me just take a look at it here.
So going back. Wait. You know what? I'm sorry. Did we already do adventure? Where's companionship? When did we do companionship?
We're taping this, right? The authors of the book just released today. Just finally, here it is.
But more than just
I think you're going to enjoy this book as much as they did writing it.
Wait, what is it? What? Companionship is we talked about in chapter 5.
So you don't want to miss this one.
Okay. This is not only hysterical, but
I'm right.
honey, you are.
Again.
You are. And I just want to go, golly, what a classic married moment right there. Sweetheart, excuse me, pardon me, you're screwing up, honey. Would you just be quiet and let me handle this? And then it turns out that I'm wrong. I love God. That is such awful exposure. Forgive me.
So, back to Stacy.
All is well. All is well. It's hard to keep track of, I know. No, but this, that we get to do this together is awesome. And what it requires, okay, it's just hard when John has his head buried in his lap. It's kind of hard to. That was classic.
Yes. Shared adventure. Go ahead, honey. You were doing so well.
Well, you know, when I'm thinking of this, I don't know if it was you, John, or someone else at some point down the road pointed out the difference between adventures we choose. Oh. You know, the rafting, the canoeing, the camping trips, or the snorkeling together. Mm-hmm. And then there's adventures that are chosen for us,
right.
that we would perhaps never choose, but to have eyes to see them as an adventure, to find God. Mm-hmm. And, we're surrounded by adventure, whether we've chosen it or not.
Mm-hmm.
Just have your eyes to see it. Just think of, we must take the adventure that Aslan has for us.
Which usually comes in the form of crisis.
Yes.
Right, I'm thinking flat tires on the freeway at night and it's freezing. Okay, can we do the snorkeling thing again?
Right. Well, yeah, okay. Just
wondering if you have something to add to this, John?
I'm back. Now I know what chapter we're in. I think that when most people think of their calling, they think of it personally, right? Mm-hmm. I'm called to medicine, or I'm called to be a teacher. I'm called to youth work. I'm called to the mission field. I, feel called to be a writer, that kind of thing. But when God gave Adam and Eve the earth and he gave the command to rule, he gave it to them together. He said to them. And so I just want to put out there the idea that your marriage has a calling, that there's something that the two of you are called to together. And I think in the early years, much of that tends to be children, home, family, and home's important. Home's home base, it's and raising children is one of the greatest honors that anyone's ever given and requires both of you to be involved in it. However, happy little home has become the primary mission of most marriages. I'm staggered at the number of catalogs we get.
It's really amazing. Forests are being felled.
Somebody got our address. And,
yes.
And seriously, the number of catalogs whose basic message is happy little home, whether it's furnishings or lighting or appliances or, cookware and gourmet cookware. And then I was driving around the other day and it just struck me the size of the home improvement stores. Compared to like the size of a Christian bookstore, for example, the size of home improvement stores and the number of them.
Yes.
Right? Are we beginning to get the picture here? The number of shows on this. The time, energy, effort that most couples throw into happy little home, right? And that is not a big enough story. It'll drive you crazy. It's ingrown like a toenail. Eventually that will backfire on you. It's not a big enough story. You have to have a mission. You have to have something that the two of you are in that is great and noble and good together.
I'm nodding. I'm realizing that you can't see that. So yes, absolutely. Just and immediately, I know this can be difficult. Like, well, oh gosh, well, you have something. You're doing this ministry, hooray! And it is amazing, and it is glorious and hard. But it hasn't been the majority of our lives either. There are other adventures that we're doing together. I mean, bringing the kingdom together, having it advance in ways that it wouldn't advance if you weren't doing it. So something that helped John and I years ago was when we began to dream together, unedited. First separately, like, just go take some time and what would you like to do? Where would you like to go? Where do you want to live? Just, without getting bogged down with how could that happen or we can't afford that. Just no limits on it, just dreaming. And then bringing those together, seeing where they intersect. It's a good place to begin, just with the dreaming, the what ifs. Take off all of the hindrances to how this can't possibly ever happen, and begin to consider that maybe you want it. Maybe it's a dream that was planted in your heart by God, and to give it a little time, expose it to the light, give it some air, talk about it together, see what might come of that. It was a good place for us to begin, and it was a turning point really for us. We still do it. We do it annually, at least. You're nodding now.
I'm thinking of Craig and Lori's story.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, Craig, Lori, and you had stepped up to a whole new level of shared mission. I mean, my observation from knowing you for almost 30 years was, in the years when you were pastoring, Lori didn't seem to be a real tight part of that. She had the girls, and was doing that part, and you were at work,
right,
quote unquote, as a pastor. But that seemed to shift when the two of you said, we will leave California, we will come to Colorado, and we will throw our lives into this.
Yeah, well, the short story there is just truth is our lives are drying up, both personally and as a couple. In the pastoral role I had, it was just death. And God just made himself known. You're to move to Colorado. You're to be a part of this mission and this vision called Ransomed Heart. And it has been, up to this date, the hardest thing we have done together. And it's really, Lori came, I think, with something you had mentioned, Stacey, a little bit of, is this all about me? Knowing that she was in a supportive role and knowing that God was in it, wondering where it fit for her. And over the last couple of years, it's just been so clear that this is a shared adventure and mission. Cost a lot, but where else would we be is here. And there's something about an adventure that requires risk and faith, and without either of those, it's not a true adventure. And we have to keep going back to, Lord, I mean, how do we live in this?
Yes.
How this next bend in the river seems to be requiring even more.
Yes.
But, yeah. And then now, with my diagnosis with leukemia, together going, okay, how do we live in this? This feels like a new faith life adventure as well, versus just something to push through. What's this mean for us as a couple? How do we do this? So, yeah.
And what is the effect of doing that together, asking those kinds of questions together?
Well, number one, I couldn't do it alone, nor could she. We couldn't. Asking the question, just asking the question takes us to God together in some way that we both need the answer to. I think asking that question is what drives us closer together. I think these adventures that I've spoken of are kind of the linchpin for an intimacy we haven't known either.
Yeah, and that's the point, friends, that there is something that God does, works, invites us into that requires us to pull together. It requires us to pull together, right? We are in this together is crucial for a marriage.
Just as you're saying that, I mean, I love the adventures in Hawaii and the light on Lori's face as the sun is setting with her frumpy little straw hat, and she's in her bathing suit, and she's bronze and beautiful. I mean, that's one adventure. But I love the profile of her face when we're sitting on the couch wondering what all this means for life and our future, and she's offering words of faith. I mean, there's just all kinds of adventures, but there's intimacy in all of them, and it looks so different.
We're so glad that you have joined us. If you're new to the Ransomed Heart podcast, this has been John Eldredge and my wife Stasi and Craig McConnell, and we've been discussing marriage, intimacy, all in the context of a book that comes out tomorrow called Love and War that Stasi and I wrote together. And so we're very excited about that. You can find it at the front of your bookstore probably tomorrow, we hope. But we also have a website called loveandwar.net, and on there you'll find out more about the book. You can read some of it, listen to the podcasts. You can learn about the tour that we're doing in January and February and get your tickets for that. Stasi and I will be traveling around the U.S. Speaking in the first part of the new year. And we want you to come and find out all that we're offering to you through the Ministry of Ransomed Heart. Retreats for men, retreats for women, conferences, and all sorts of small group resources and journals. So come and drink deeply of this fountain that we have found.